Holy crap, guys, you can get shiny Pokemon through the red, blue, and yellow virtual console, Poke-transported them into Sun and Moon, and then receive a shiny that way. And the craziest part about it, it's not random. So, like, where to begin? We need to go all the way back, because first generation shiny hunting is a real thing that already exists, and it existed before the Pokemon Bank, and that's just the way that shiny Pokemon were introduced in the second generation. There were no shiny Pokemon in the first generation. However, in the second generation, shinies were based off of IVs, but back then they were called DVs because they only went to 15 instead of 31. So in this video, whenever I say DV, just think ancient IVs or something like that. So back in the day, when you caught a Pokemon in the first generation, you can transfer it into the second generation, and then it'll read the DVs, and they'll just say, oh, I guess this is a shiny Pokemon, and it will make it shiny. Back then, this is what needed to happen. You needed the IVs to be 10 in speed, defense, and special, and the attack must be 2, 3, 6, 7, 10, 11, 14, or 15. Now, here's kind of the strange things. IVs only go up in 15 in Game Boy games. Pokebank attempts to take this into account, but gets the role of attack and defense backwards. So it seems like you actually need a 10 in speed, attack, and special, and then the defense must be one of these random numbers right here. So that's the reports we're getting, and that seems to be the case, which means you can actually read the stats of a Pokemon caught in the red, blue, yellow virtual console, and then have it turn out to be shiny, to the surprise of many people. Transferred my Pokemon from blue through bank, and I got lucky, and yeah, this guy got lucky, because the odds are 1 in 8,000 to get a shiny Pokemon roll, and there's no shiny charm, that this is going to be true odds. So few people, like very few people, are going to just transfer their Pokemon, find out they have a shiny, or maybe they won't even find out for a while. You know, you just dump a whole box of first-gen Pokemon, you don't really look at it, you know, you just wanted to bring it over just because, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, one of these Pokemon's shiny. Now, the luck for your shiny Articuno, oh my goodness, that is absolutely insane. And because of the stats getting backwards, like, I think there's going to be a lot of shiny hunting. Like, shiny hunting is now possible at this very moment in the first generation to then have a shiny Pokemon in Sun and Moon. And that's, like, one of the crazy things because of this. So, yeah, oh my god, is it something that can actually happen? That's so lucky. Congrats. I was reading a post on the main sub about shinies transferred from the virtual console. Apparently, it's similar to how it was in Gen 2. That's determined by IVs and DVs. Does this say anything about the defense and attack swap? I'm not sure, because then we also have this post right here. So yeah, Pokebank attempts to take this into account. Pokemon will not be allowed to transfer if they have moves that can be learned in one Gen 1 game, but not another. For example, Charizard with Fly that I taught in yellow trades it to your copy of red. It cannot be transferred. Gender is completely random. Nature is generated from experience. EVs are just set to 0. So a lot of people are asking, what about the EVs that you gain? Because there's a very crude EV system in the first generations of Pokemon, but at the same time, it would kind of be weird if the EVs transferred over and then it assigned IVs and you kind of had a pseudo-trained Pokemon. No, they're just set to 0. And then the original IVs are also ignored entirely except for the shiny hunting. All Pokemon will automatically have 3 perfect IVs except for Mew, which will automatically have 5. Yo! Transfer event Mew. I didn't know about that. Have 5. Oh, there he is. There's the guy that does all the data mining. So he discovered this, and it looks like he even discovered the shiny value for the Pokemon. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys how you can actually find a shiny for yourself using a shiny Pokemon calculator for the second generation / first generation. Now, to use the calculator, all you have to do is input a Pokemon, put in that Pokemon's level, and then make sure it is a just caught Pokemon or a wild Pokemon. That way you don't have to worry about any of the other stat points and EVs getting in the way. But pretty much, Mewtwo level 70 is going to be a great example because for legendary Pokemon like the Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno, or Mewtwo, you always encounter them at the same level. So you put in that level, you calculate it, and then this is all we need right here. That way, when you catch a Mewtwo, you check the stats. If it has specific stats, then that means it is going to be a shiny one. Think about it like a scratch-off ticket, or when you're watching lottery numbers come up that's like 7, 13, 12, 4. I put in something else. You know, it's kind of like one of those games where you're like, oh, and then you see if it fails or not. So this is where things also get interesting because remember, it's going to be attack, defense, speed, and special, but in the second generation, the special stat was split. However, it will factor off of the special stat, and we can still figure this one out. So I went on to Bulbapedia, and it says this Pokemon's special was 154 in Gen 1, and in Gen 2, it has a 154 on the special attack. So all we have to do is look at what we need for the special attack stat. So we're going to need 10 on that, 10 on speed, and then we're going to need 10 on attack, and then have the defense be a different kind of value. So as you can see right here, we'll need a 173 201 speed, and then a 234 special attack on that level 70 Mewtwo that we catch. Now, there can be some complications with this when it comes to lower level Pokemon, because the DVs don't have enough of a variance. That, as you can see, that the Pokemon will have 11 in its special, 12, and then 13 for many different values. So you have to make sure the Pokemon that you are hunting is a high enough level to have individual values that can be identified, or at least that specific range that you're looking for can also show as well. So what I have right now is I'm in Cerulean Cave. We have a lot of high level Pokemon. I'm just going to randomly run into a Pokemon, and then I'm going to go and catch it with a Master Ball, check its stats, and see if that Pokemon is a shiny or not. I'm not really expecting a shiny, but I'm just going to show you guys how you can input this for yourself. So as I'm throwing out the Master Ball and catching this Pokemon, I can do the level 49 for myself. So as you can see right here, our Kadabra has good stats that we can go and check. Now, I guess there could be some issues with pseudo high level Pokemon that just have low base stats, because there could still be some overlap. And also, when it comes to special, have no fear, 120, so we just go off the special attack again. Generally, it's going to be the special attack and sometimes the special defense. So now let's go hop back over to our game and then see if our Kadabra stacks up. Actually, I should probably do like a very specific screen region so we can see everything at the same time. So Kadabra has 44 in attack. Well, that means we have 5 IVs for that, which it's already dead right there. We have 36 defense, 114 speed, 135 special, and none of those are even in the 10. So it's like you're thinking, oh, I only have to roll 4 10s. How hard could that be? Well, that's why the odds are still 1 in thousands. That most of your Pokemon aren't even going to have 110. Much like playing the lottery, you know, you got 6 numbers, and then none of them will land. But there we go, guys. That is the lottery. That is the Gen 1 shiny hunting. And that's the coolest thing about it, is that there's actually people that shiny hunt in Gen 1. They trade it into like an old school Gen 2 game, and then the Pokemon turns out to be shiny. Like, that is the method, and that is how it carries over. And that's, I would say that that's an Easter egg or something that we have in the generations, because one thing about shiny values that I think is just crazy is that, yeah, in future generations, they have shiny values. So you catch a Pokemon, if the shiny value matches your trainer's shiny value, then it turns out to be shiny. But that was based off of the original IV calculation, that as shiny Pokemon became easier in future generations, it was just because of that shiny value and not because of IV calculation. Now, if we do get a transfer, like say we have second generation Gold, Silver, Crystal on the Virtual Console, and then those work with Poke Transporter, a lot of crazy things can happen, because a shiny Ditto has a better chance of breeding a shiny Pokemon because of the IV inheritance. So you can do something like that. There's a lot of different methods by messing around with the IVs that you can increase the chances of getting a shiny Pokemon in the second generation, and that could maybe even work with the Poke Transporter. And then now we're in the future generation where 7th generation has SOS method, shiny charm, things to just kind of add shiny rolls, that instead of just having one shot at it, you're getting extra rolls. That when you're doing the shiny charm, it gives you 3, so it becomes 3 out of whatever odds you're running. And then also if you're doing the SOS battling and everything else like that, the odds get even better, Masuda method, and so on. So we have some craziness going on when it comes to Pokemon for Pokebank. Looks like there's even more information to add on to this video. So due to flawed RNG in Gen 1, actually capturing a shiny is basically impossible, except that's not quite true. Seems the flaw is only relevant to random wild encounters. Mewtwo should be fine. Still, I strongly recommend against shiny hunting a game where shinies can't be distinguished from other Pokemon. So you can still shiny hunt, but it looks like it's only for fixed encounters. This does include all the legendary Pokemon, so Articuno, Moltres, Zapdos, and Mewtwo are going to be fine, and also Lapras, apparently. I was quite surprised my unused Silphco Lapras turned shiny, and then the guy goes up there with flaws in RNG, but Lapras does not apply since it's not a random encounter, and the reason because of this is crazy RNG stuff. In Gen 1, for the game to generate a random wild encounter, the RNG must be in a specific state. The RNG advances very little between deciding to generate a wild encounter and choosing IVs for the encountered Pokemon. By consequence, instead of all of the theoretical IV combinations possible, only 7,000 of them can ever be generated. Now, this applies to random encounters such as legendaries or gifts. Now, I was also thinking about some other Pokemon that this could work for. I would imagine everything in the Celadon Game Corner could work as well, but because of the low level of the Pokemon, there might be some complications there. So in Pokemon Blue, you can receive Dragonair at level 30, and by looking at this, if you do have that Pokemon, it's doable that there's either a chance that it's not going to be shiny or a chance that it is shiny, but at least the IV values or the DV values are somewhat readable in this case. Now, if you do have what seems to be correct and doesn't turn out to be shiny, this is the reason why, but it doesn't really cost you anything. That, okay, get the Dragonair, you put it into your bank, you see if it's shiny or not. Not really too much time is lost, and then you get back to the grind right there. Now, you will have to build up the coins to get another Dragonair, but it does show that there are some gift Pokemon scattered about that will be able to be shiny hunted for. I wonder if anyone's going to be crazy enough to reset the game corner to get shiny Pokemon. I'm really interested in seeing if this becomes a staple part of Pokemon Sun and Moon shiny hunting, because SOS battles, it's kind of the same thing over and over again, and Masuda method is the same thing for the last many generations. So this could be a new way of shiny hunting. There's a couple of ways to do it. There's also a couple of quirks about it that can complicate things. So I think that's pretty much it on all the information about the shiny hunting and some of the interesting things that are going on with Pokemon Sun and Moon Transfer. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you going to be crazy and go for this? Do you think it's not worth it? I mean, it's kind of cool that when you look at this Articuno, it has the Game Boy symbol. So I guess another thing to say is also don't go scrambling looking through our boxes for every Pokemon. But if it was a non-wild encounter and it's a fixed encounter, yeah, it might be worth just, giving it a second look, because that Pokemon could be shiny and there is a reasoning behind it. So guys, enjoy the video. Craziness coming out of Pokemon Bank, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.